Right now, Pittsburgh's best sports show is about to begin. Call us or tweet us. We've got things to talk about on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome inside the Fan Cave. This is the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. Bob Pompeani, Chris Mueller with you tonight at 412-575-2600. Call us. You can also tweet us at KDPomp, at Chris Mueller PGH. And it's interesting because the Pirates, they won a game tonight, but still the talk over there is more about what happened last night. And Chris, I didn't get your take on this, but it was one of those situations that didn't need to happen. Anytime you're in a situation like that, that organization, any organization, should know about public relation problems that soon could follow if you make a decision like this. Regardless of why it was made, it certainly gives the appearance that it was about money, and that has really been a part of this organization, for a long, long time. And it's a frugal organization to begin with, and for them not going through with 4 more at-bats for Rowdy Tellez, I think, doubled down on that, and a lot of people nationally are talking about it. What's your take on it?
I think that they made a mistake, compounded a mistake. The original one, if they didn't want to pay out the bonus of $200,000, which is a drop in the proverbial bucket for a major league team, they should have DFA'd Rowdy Tellez weeks ago when he was 50 or 60 plate appearances away. And then no one really bats an eyelash. They just say, well, the team's out of it. Maybe, he had started to cool off at the end of August, and he wasn't playing well at the beginning of September. DFA him. Be done with it. And then go about your business. If he's got 380 plate appearances, no one really pays any mind to it. But then the fact that they did this 4 plate appearances shy, that Ben Cherington stands up there and tells everybody it had nothing to do with money. It was only about getting some young guys up and giving them some major league experience as a reward for playing well in AAA. Come on. It's bad business, Bob, for this reason. They're never going to outspend their peers. They're the second lowest payroll in baseball this year. You've got to do little tiny things right to try to entice maybe a free agent you actually would be in play for to come and play for you. Trade a veteran if you're out of the race one year to a playoff team if they're useful to somebody, right? Even if you don't get much back in the trade. Just act like a player-first organization, and this is just a player-last kind of move, and it further reinforces every negative stereotype and perception that is out there about them. It does nothing to help any of that. It just further drives home the point that everything you hear said about the Pirates around baseball seemingly is true.
And when you have a team like Milwaukee in town, they win another division. This after they got rid of their manager, one of their best pitchers, actually 2 of their best pitchers. I wonder what they're going to be like. They went out and spent some money, I think wisely, on guys like Rhys Hoskins, even though his average isn't very good. He still has 25 home runs and near 80 runs batted in. Point is, there are ways to do it and ways not to do it. The other thing, I think, even though the Pirates would never be in the boat of signing a big-time free agent, those guys who are in the $2 to $3 million range, like Rowdy Tellez, may now look at this and say, you know what, I'm not going to give them the opportunity to do this to me. I want it all guaranteed. Or it may cost the Pirates actually more money in the long run if people like that think like that.
I mean, it's just also wildly inconsistent with how they acted towards Skeens and Jones. I mean, they're going to pay those guys more money earlier because of how they handled them, and I thought they got some credit for that. So if you're willing to probably sacrifice millions of dollars with the way you've handled your 2 best young pitchers, seriously, what difference does $200,000 make to a billionaire?
It shouldn't make any.
I'm being serious.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. These are like rounding errors. You know what I mean? These are rounding errors, and I guess this is if I could put it in one sentence, because it's so easy to get so fired up. No one over there, you mean to tell me, did like any kind of cost-benefit analysis for how negative the public relations would be and how $200,000 being pick up the tab and give it to Rowdy, make sure he gets to the escalator, just give him the money, who cares? No one did any kind of thinking about how this might affect him. You have Jeff Passan, the biggest insider in baseball, going on one of the biggest sports talk shows in the country, Pat McAfee, today, and lambasting the Pirates. How does any of this do them any good?
Costs them a lot more money in the long run in terms of public relation, and who knows what it means to ticket sales and how people view this team moving forward in terms of investing in them. Right.
Whether people should be bothered or not by it, like whether Rowdy Tellez is really the hill fans want to die on, is almost irrelevant. It's just going to serve to frustrate people who have already been frustrated many times over by this organization.
I have another interesting story, and it pertains to NIL money out in Las Vegas. We'll get to that with Chris. And, you know, if you are one of these teams that has a good quarterback, and I bring this up only because Eli Holstein is here in Pittsburgh, and while I expect that he likes it here, he's got an opportunity here, man, money, 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 it becomes a big issue. And we saw that happen today in UNLV, and they've responded in kind to Matthew Sluka, who decided to just drop everything and leave in the middle of a 3-0 season. We'll get into that and more. Want to hear from you. It's 412-575-2600. Call us right now. This is the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. We are live on KDKA Plus, and I believe tonight on 93.7 The Fan. We have had a tweet, and this is the problem when you get these live tweets, they keep moving on me. So I wanted to read it because it was a good one here. Hold on, I'll find it before we go to the lines. And it's from Ryan Zedek, who says, if you think NIL and transfer portal stuff is bad now, wait until players start opting out of the expanded football playoffs in December. Well, that might be interesting because there's a lot of that going on. They're thinking about their NFL careers, some of them. Some of them may want more money. Who knows how this is going, but you're right. No guardrails, no restrictions whatsoever. It is just open season on these guys, and it's getting out of control, and you're going to see more of it, I believe. Let's go to the lines here. Chris, we have a lot of people talking here, so we'll begin with Stan and McCandless down at the bottom of the board. But first tonight, hey, Stan.
Good evening, Bob. How you doing, Chris? Thank you guys for taking my call. Hey, I just wanted to ask you guys, on the draft the last couple years and the free agents that we've had come in, I know there's been a lot of credit that has been given to Rooney and to
Omar Khan?
Tomlin concerning the personnel. But how about Omar Khan? I mean, how much credit do you give to him and to the impact he's made?
A lot. I mean, I don't think people are not giving him his due. I think they work together as a group, and they do a pretty good job, especially if you look at the draft and what he's done in reshaping the quarterback room. So, you know, that's credit to him and his staff for doing what they're doing. It was a bold move, Chris, and something that, you know, many people thought the Steelers wouldn't end up doing. I certainly didn't think that midway through the season with Kenny Pickett in year number 2, that all of a sudden there'd be 3 guys gone, 2 new guys, or actually 3 new guys in.
If you look at who is the only piece on the board that's moved, that's been changed out, it's not Art Rooney II. It's not Mike Tomlin in their draft brain trust. It's Omar Khan and Andy Weidl, sort of as a tandem, replacing Kevin Colbert. And so I would give Omar Khan a lot of the credit, and Andy Weidl as well, a lot of the credit for philosophical changes. I think Tomlin deserves credit for, it seems like, going along with these wholeheartedly. But I would give the GM the majority of the credit for the way they have reshaped their roster and taken a different approach.
Carl in West Mifflin is next up. Carl, welcome to the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call.
Hey, Bob, how you doing?
Good, thanks.
Hey, I wanted to explain to me what's defense delay a game and how often is that called in a game?
It's kind of new in the fact that it's being called more. And quite frankly, it's shifting around, also using your voice. There are a lot of things in it. I'm not sure, actually, to be honest. I saw it twice now, and I still don't know if what I've seen is accurate, Chris.
Well, I think one of them is if you try to, like, fake out the snap by, like, you can't, like, call something out. I thought they got Keanu Benton for the way he stemmed, that it was an unnatural stem move. Like, obviously, we see defensive lines stem and move right before the snap. That's a pretty normal part of football. I thought Romo, who was, I thought, very good on the analysis of that game in general, did a good job of explaining that it seemed like it was Benton just stemming unnaturally and therefore drawing the penalty.
But it's really hard to tell. It is, and if someone's watching the game, you're wondering, what are you watching and what are you seeing here? So. But I have more of a problem with all these pass interference calls. Some called, some not called. It seems like Kansas City's benefiting more than everyone. But that's another story for another day. Let's go back to the lines. We have Michael in Beaver Falls. Hey, Michael.
Hey, guys. How y'all doing tonight?
We're good.
Great. You know what? This is Michael from Beaver Falls calling again. I called last week, and I predicted that the Steelers are going to win as long as they kept Fields and kept the offensive line protecting them. This week, they're going to win again. If the offensive line keeps them in the pocket, they do some trick plays, and we still have our great running play going, and the defense is awesome. We will win the next one, guys.
Well, they're favored to do it, and quite frankly, they should. Indianapolis is struggling right now. They, the one difference this year, Jonathan Taylor is in that lineup. Last year, they weren't, and they still won that game, despite the Steelers leading 13-0. They came back, I think it was 30-13. No Jonathan Taylor. Now there is Jonathan Taylor, and they have a young quarterback who's kind of a wild card, Chris. You can see him you get sort of the full Anthony Richardson experience when you watch. You get some dynamic plays, and then you get some boneheaded throws.
I don't think any quarterback in the league has more raw physical gifts than Richardson. I think he made one of the best throws I've ever seen in week 1, but he could easily throw 2 or 3 interceptions in this game. The Colts defense cannot stop a nosebleed on the ground. With no DeForest Buckner, that gets even worse. Apparently Najee Harris, who was seen with his arm in a sling, is fine, just got a rest day today. It should be a heavy dose of him, heavy dose of probably Cordero Patterson. The Steelers might be able to go with that sort of preferred Tomlin road game plan because the Colts seem ripe for the picking with exactly that kind of strategy.
Yeah, but the NFL is so unpredictable. Last week there were some results. I know survivor polls, mine are dead. There's so many of them. It's hard to predict, even without points, who's going to win some of these games. So there's going to be a tough game here and there. And we'll see. Quarterback situation remains the same, and it should remain the same, quite frankly. I think Justin Fields was at his best last week, 8 of 11 throwing in the middle of the field, something we haven't seen at all. Basically he's all to the outside like last year, but that was encouraging for me to see him step in there, make those really good throws right on the money.
I was really encouraged. I think PFF had this stat. He was 8 of 9 for like 119 yards and a touchdown against the blitz. So if you're a quarterback whose previous reputation was that you just didn't really see things quickly enough, you didn't make decisive enough reads and decisions, the fact that when the Chargers blitzed, they got absolutely scorched is a really, really encouraging sign. I think Arthur Smith deserves a lot of credit, and I'll be real interested on the road against a team that can't stop the run to see how much responsibility Arthur Smith and Mike Tomlin parcel out to Justin Fields in this game.
North Hills is our next stop. We have Rick on line 3. Hey, Rick, how are you?
I wanted to talk about Mr. Nutting. You really shouldn't own a sports team if you don't want to win, And, I mean, it's obvious that he don't want to spend the money, to win. And,
it's the same tune over and over, and they had a chance to expand what happened in the 2013, 14, and 15 seasons. If they wanted to, they chose not to. I there are too many examples for me not to pay attention here. The Baltimore Orioles were an awful team not too long ago. They're competing for a division with the Yankees. They beat them, I think, tonight to remain, within striking distance. Now you see Detroit, what they've been able to do. Kansas City went from 106 losses, and these stupid flies in the lantern things, they just drive me nuts. Anyway, there are too many examples, Chris, out there, and they should be able to do it. Milwaukee is technically smaller TV market than Pittsburgh, and yet year after year, they figure out ways to get it done.
I mean, I put a lot of the blame on ownership. I just think it's noteworthy that all these markets are either comparably sized or smaller, like you mentioned, and they do it better. I also put a lot of blame, though, on the general manager, because obviously the talent acquisition process and the development process is better in these places, too. And I think the way this team falters out and fails seemingly every year creates a general malaise around them that in and of itself is very hard to overcome. And I think even with Paul Skeens, that same kind of malaise has settled in again over this franchise.
We're due for a break. We'll take it right now. Thanks for joining us. This is the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. We will be back in a flash.